Ladies and gentlemen, would you believe it? I have with us the one, the only, PiLiPiLi.
Hells yeah, what's up, man? How you doing?
I'm doing great. Welcome, welcome. Thank you so much for agreeing to do this. I'm really excited to get to talk to you. You're a player who you've been on my radar since forever. Because at least when I was, first getting really hyped about the game, you were living like really close to where I was living. And so you're kind of my hometown hero. So this is really kind of fun to get to do.
Yeah. Wait, did you move ever since, or?
No. I'm still in San Diego. I just wasn't sure if you are still in the area.
Oh, okay, yeah. I moved to Long Beach for 2 years for school, and then now I'm back for now.
Oh, nice. Well, maybe once the world opens up, you'll have to have a drink or something.
Hells yeah, that sounds perfect.
All right. So before I get too ahead of myself here, how do you describe who you are and what you do?
As of now, I'm mostly. It's a very weird spot. I guess there's a big pre-story, but short term, streamer first. I guess pro gamer second, and just a guy who does a bunch of little things in StarCraft as a third. I guess that would be a fair.
Yeah, absolutely.
Explanation.
Yeah, and this is I love that I get to start with this question because it very much frames the discussion in a nice way, right? Because like as you say, it's an interesting question for you right where you are in your career at this immediate moment, right? So you've kind of done a little bit of a transition to doing more streaming, I feel, than you see a lot of people who are, sort of serious face pro gamers, like just trying to grind tournaments, but you're also still grinding tournaments, right? So you're in this interesting space where you're doing multiple things.
Right. So, I mean, it's always kind of been like that with me. Like, I started playing StarCraft like back in 2013, and then I streamed for like a year and a half fairly seriously, and then I was like, well, I'm close to being a pro gamer, so I took like a 2015 2016 off to compete, and 2017 most of it as well. So did okay. It wasn't that great, but then I was doing community college at the same time, and then once I got to university, I kind of took like a year and a half from StarCraft. But then this year, well, I guess last year I graduated. And then it was like a really weird, thank you. It's a really weird spot because, I graduated at the worst time possible. I mean, it's kind of an excuse for me, but it's also true where like it was May, which was like 2 months after March, where the corona happened, where everyone was getting laid off.
Yep.
So the job market was just kind of garbage.
Yeah.
And also I didn't do that much. Like the whole thing with me doing stuff like, StarCraft and all of that kind of slowed me down education-wise, where like I didn't do the internships I should have done, didn't make the connections I should have done. So I wasn't too ready for the quote-unquote real world. So I was like, well,
sure, I
can always rely on StarCraft for now. So it's a good source of income, and I can play tournaments, stream, all of that. So I got into that. But then obviously with the current state of North American StarCraft and my skill as well, it's, you can't rely on tournaments alone unless you're like Nebe or Stray or Scarlet. And even they, like, it's like, yes, you're gonna make decent money from DreamHack and A, but then once you get to what do they call them now? Like the main event, I guess, where all the Koreans and Europeans come. Yep. I kind of forgot what they call it now.
I can't.
It's really hard competition, and most of the time you just make a couple of grand, and there's only 3 of those a year. And if you don't, like, there's no more war chests, stuff like that.
Yep.
Yeah, it's very hard to rely on tournaments, so that's why I kind of focus on stream more. Even though streaming is also really hard to make money off consistently. But if you do the combination, like I'm kind of in a good spot where like I have a strong community of Twitch where like because I've been streaming for so long that I have like a lot of the old school fans that can make kind of a living there, but also do tournaments and also coaching and like get on the team that gets some sort of consistent income here and there. So all of that combined kind of makes me float by for now.
Sure.
But yeah, I don't know how long I can do this for, what the future holds for me. So it's a really weird time for me.
Yeah, and like I say, I'm so glad like that at this particular moment in time I get to talk to you because it's obviously you have so much history with the game, right? So there's a lot to talk about there, and then like I don't know, it almost feels like there's less mystery if I talk to you 2 years from now and you're like, oh, okay, I have it all figured out, like I know my life path and whatever, but there's so many different directions you could go right now. So it's just fun to hear, what you're thinking and what you're kind of getting out of each of these different things. So I feel like we've talked about this before, but here, I'll just pretend that instead of forgetting it, for the benefit of everybody in YouTube, what did you actually get your degree in?
Okay, so I did got my degree in journalism and public relations, which
Hmm.
was part of the problem. It's not exactly the most demanding job, and
Uh-huh.
I did go into that was definitely like, well, first of all, I came to America when I was 7, so I went to last year of high school
Hmm.
without really speaking English yet, and I
Oh
had to
wow.
go to community. Well, I had to pick either going to university or community college.
Hmm.
When I was just like 12 months in America, which most kids mess up this decision living their whole life in America. And for me, I only
Hmm.
had 1 year, barely speak
Yeah.
English. Thankfully for me, I failed to get into universities. I didn't even try because
Mm.
like when you had to do this SAT test,
Yeah.
and when I took like some prep, it was so bad English wise that people were like, just go to community
Mm.
college,
Hmm.
and which was good move because universities would be so freaking expensive,
Hmm.
and I would just be like drowning in loans. And I went to community college where you basically somehow in America you get paid to go there, which was funny. So that was a good decision, I guess. And
Hmm.
then after that, I started with computer science, and then I figured that it's just not my thing. I wasn't strong at math,
Hmm.
and yeah, believe me or not every StarCraft 2 nerd is good at computer science. So then I was just like, well, what did I do? I didn't know anything else, and my parents did kind of pressure me into you have to get like. Ideally, I would take a year off just to focus on StarCraft, but
Hmm.
I guess I didn't communicate with my parents properly enough at the time, and there was a like, why did we come to America? Just so you can play video games, kind of thing. Or like,
Hmm.
you got to go get higher education,
Right.
and my grades weren't too good, and journalism was like definitely easier program to get into.
Hmm.
So I kind of just went there without too much thinking, and down the road, I figured like the career I want to pursue is definitely finance. Now it's
Hmm.
once again like I was like so close to graduating with journalism. I was like, I might as well do it
Sure.
and then see how it goes after. And now I'm in a weird spot where like I kind of want to go back to school, but it's all online,
Yeah.
and I can kind of like get into industry, but it's hard now because the job market kind of sucks.
Hmm. Hmm.
And if you don't have a formal education, like you're competing with, like the competition is much harder for you and all that. So yeah, now like as you said, like 2 years from now, maybe I'll have it all figured out. I'll be either in school or working somewhere, still doing StarCraft, and maybe it's gonna go well. But now it's definitely a decision that haunts me every night, where I'm like,
Mm.
where do I focus my energy?
Yeah.
There's only one of me, and there's so many things I could be doing right now. And I feel
Hmm.
like my mind is clear now. Like 2 3 years ago, I had no idea what I wanted to do and stuff. Now,
Hmm.
kind of like I do know what interests me, and I'm like, that's good, but I don't know where to start and what
Sure.
would be the best. So that's kind of rough.
Yeah, yeah, that definitely makes sense. I mean, it seems like you're not doubting your own potential, which is good because like clearly, I mean, anybody who can be as good at StarCraft as you are, right? Like you know how to work hard, you know how to get good at things, and like the intellect piece is there, right? It's just a matter of like where do you spend your effort, right, to get to the
Yeah,
thing you
exactly.
want. Yeah, that's oh man, that's yeah, and it's such a bummer too because of the timing, as you say, right? Like I've been, I mean, I'm a lot older than you, right? I've been in industry, in some form or another, doing software engineering for like God, like 11, 12 years now.
Oh, wow.
Um, and I've been, my career's been completely stable, like, go from one job to the next if you don't like it at a company kind of thing. And I got laid off right when you're talking about,
Oh, wow.
looking for a job for the like, and like software engineers, like the most in demand possible thing,
Exactly.
right?
Yeah.
So I mean, that just really underscores like, uh, how bad the economic situation was at the time, the point in time that you're talking about, right? Like, if anybody's watching this years from now and you forgot, that's how bad, right? Um, so yeah, I totally, feel you on that. I think it's definitely interesting maybe to poke at some of your history as well. So my earliest memories of you are kind of, I guess, that 2015 2016 phase that you're talking about, right? Where it's I guess I must have come in right after you'd kind of said, okay, I'm gonna drop the streaming and I'm gonna do, like really try hard like pro gamer mode kind of thing.
Mhm.
Because that's like my conception of you is like that, right? That you're just going at it, right? And I remember finding like old have you ever seen that old Day Nine Daily where it's like, you gotta find a player and like model yourself after them and like make them your hero and try to be like that, right? Like go
Oh,
watch
yeah.
tournament videos. So I remember like you were one of the players. Maybe I could try to be like PiLiPiLi, right? I'm like trying to
Oh,
find like
damn.
tournament videos of you and stuff. So like I remember that, like watching like 2014 era footage of like you playing and stuff. Um, yeah. So anyway, I guess maybe I'd be a little bit curious to hear what it was like in the earlier days, like before that, right? Because a lot of these interviews I do kind of from my own memory of just being like a huge fanboy of the scene, right? And so I have like all my notes of in my head of like just things about you that I want to dig into, but I don't want to get ahead of myself. I think it's maybe interesting to just do a brief slice about how you were feeling at that time and what it was even like in the early days of Twitch.
Well, for me, like it definitely, it's kind of funny because I look back at this kind of stuff and like I just did things. Like that was the trick for me. Like I was just extremely passionate about StarCraft. Well, first of all, I was in a foreign country. I barely speak the language. I don't have friends. I don't have relatives. It's just my mom and dad here. My dad is back in Kazakhstan working 6 months out of the year.
Oh, wow.
My mom is like, kind of around, but she has to deal with all the other stuff. Like I'm on my own. And and StarCraft was something that, like that was my family in a way. So like I started streaming and I just like I kind of missed that time because that was the time I was truly in love with the game, with the progress, with Twitch. Having people to watch me was just like completely incredible feeling at the time, even though like I had like 5 viewers at the time, but like it didn't matter. It was like someone's watching me play StarCraft. How crazy is that? Especially like consider like I didn't have internet or stable internet until I was like 15, and like just me playing against real people in StarCraft was already like a huge like funny thing to me. Like I was like, wow, I'm playing against a real person instead of AI. How crazy is that? And then I can stream now, and like other people can watch me. We can talk, and I can show off. Like that was crazy to me. So I definitely miss those times, and I didn't really do anything at the time with any sort of logic or thoughts behind it. I was just like, I feel like playing StarCraft. I feel like signing up for this tournament. Now for me, it's all like, all right, I got to stream to make money. All right, I got to sign up for this tournament because I have a chance of making, qualifiers, whatever. Like now it's all very logical, and like it's my job. At the time, it was definitely passion. It was definitely a good time, and I enjoyed it a lot. It was obviously hard with also like having to go to community college at the same time, but the passion definitely pulled through at the time. And eventually like I got more into the scene. I made more friends. English improved, streaming improved. More people were like cheering for me, and I was, at the time, I was this, the next up and coming NA guy. A lot of people have hope for me, unfortunately for them. But and then I started competing in the first tournaments, qualified for the first challenger, what it was at the time. So that was very hype, and it was definitely good times. And then eventually I was like, all right, because I was streaming so much, I was also playing so much that I was like, well, maybe I can actually like start winning tournaments, because I still had this, a dream of, oh, I'm gonna, hold the trophy over my head kind of thing, every StarCraft pro gamer does, and that dreams got crushed very hard. But that's so is life. But yeah, I gave it my best, kind of quit streaming, and I went on practice pretty hard. I think I did. I gave it like 80% of my best, I want to say. Like I definitely could have done more. And as I mentioned before, I could have easily just been more honest with my parents and be like, hey, like I'm just gonna like I don't know what the hell I'm gonna do. Like I don't want to be a journalist. I don't know why I'm going for this school. Let me just take a year off, figure my shit out, make more money in StarCraft once again. Never a bad thing, having like most kids my age at the time, they were all just like in debt, like I actually had disposable income, could do whatever I wanted with it, could even start my own business if I wanted, invest, whatever. But instead, I went to this university for no reason, spent all my money there, which is also like an experience. I also got to live on campus, make friends, American college life. It was fine. But I guess, I practiced a lot during that time, and I had some good results. But then eventually, I think I just got too burned out as well. Maybe it was too hard with juggling as well the college stuff. Because I remember, like in 2017, I started off really strong. Like 2016 was a meh year, where like it was still time where Polt, Hydra, True, Neep were just completely like there was like 2 spots, and you had to compete with Neep, Scarlet, Nina, Polt, Hydra, Violet, True, and you were like, well, I'm just gonna sign up, make my $400 from Challenger, and that's all she wrote. So. But it was fine because once again, I had the like I still had the stream on the side, or like I just finished it, and then 2017 started off really strong. I had that IM performance from the Dark PiLiPiLi, if you remember, where I got through really strong qualifiers, being like sort of a laser, and then in the main tournament I did like really well against like Nurcho, that famous game against Patience where I quote unquote rage quit the one game. So And after that, I got like top 2 in Challenger. That was after like Polton Hydro had to like go Army or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So I was top 2. Like I got over True and everyone else. I just lost to Neep in the finals.
Mm-hmm.
So I was very hyped. And then
Yeah.
once the main tournament in Austin happened, I didn't do too well in the groups. And then after that, I started like, I went from being like this, like, oh shit, this guy's like about to get to Neep's level, to like back to like Johnson. Not to be rude to John, but like back to like losing to Jon Snow in a way, where like, and Johnson was still like, like he was like about to start getting a job or something, like he was finishing university. So he was also like slowing down in a way. But yeah, like I kind of lost a lot of steam at the time.
Yeah.
And then I also got super burned out. And then, I just started playing less and less. I discovered Dota 2, started playing that a little bit, and then started playing more and more and more. And then it was also like, 6 months before, like I was meant to move to Long Beach to start my university.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, well, once I go to dorms, there's no way to play for me. Like there's no internet, there's no privacy. Like you can't really compete or stream. So it's like kind of whatever. And then, yeah, definitely my attention span just went a different way. And then it just, I was just gone from the scene out of nowhere, kind of. Because I was like this guy who's been here every day for like, from 2000, early 2014s to like end of 2017, and I just kind of disappeared for the whole 2018. And then slowly in 2019, I played like a couple of qualifiers just because they were so easy.
Sure.
I just like qualified for a couple of challenges because I just come back, do like old school all-ins, and I just qualified a couple of times. And then in 2020, once Corona started, I started coming back more and more. And obviously, we were stuck at home for a while as well, so it's just like might as well.
Yeah.
And then once I fully graduated, and then I figured like there were some job offers I could take, but they were all like, first of all, not related to what I've done. It was like sales jobs and stuff where like you could make okay money, but it's all commission. It's too much hustle. Like I can do the exact same thing in StarCraft. It's less money, but at least you're doing something you like.
Right.
And so I kind of like started streaming more and more and more, and then started doing a little better. So I kind of just stick to it, and that's kind of where I am now, where I'm like, I'm probably going to be slowly transitioning into either getting a job or finance, like super entry level, and trying to make it from there while also streaming, or straight up just getting a second degree in finance and while also streaming and just pay it off that way. And, Yeah, kind of like that.
Totally. Yeah, that makes a ton of sense. So I think a very interesting part of the story that you just laid out here is, coming to another country and like, struggling with the language, and you're like 17. I feel like, I don't know. I guess I imagine that would be disruptive no matter what age you are. But damn, man, 17 really feels like that. It would be hard to be 17 and get thrown into that. Like that just feels like that's such like an unstable, like weird time in a person's life anyway, right? Like you're figuring out who you are, and like you just get ripped. Like, I mean, people whine about, I had to change high schools. You know what I mean? Not like country and language and everything, right? Like, so, I mean, I don't even know what question is like not stupid to ask about that. Other than just like, how was that for you?
Kind of like I mentioned before, it was literally just intuition. It honestly felt like now that I look back at it, I feel like my brain clearly wasn't developed at the time, like yet. But I just did things. Like it was just like, well, this is because like I didn't question anything. Like my parents brought me to America. I didn't question that for a second. My parents just told me so. I followed the rules. My teacher told me to do my homework. I did it. The tax IRS tells me to file my taxes. I did it. The law tells you to not drive over 45. I just followed the rules. Like that was it. It was like, now that I think about, like, wow, it's crazy that I just did things. Like, how the hell did I know? But like I guess America is also like a very welcoming country for immigrants. Like despite all the news and all of that, at the end of the day, like it's really much better country for immigrants than probably any other country in the world.
Wow.
Because like we do have the system where, I mean, I guess I say we now because I'm a citizen, but the country is ready to take immigrants and help them, and there's a bunch of resources, especially in California. We have a bunch of like free courses for English, bunch of like help with documents, and they do it in all different languages. There's translators everywhere. The teachers were very understanding. Like I definitely got better grades because I was a foreigner. They would be like, oh, you got a 60 on a test and you needed like 65 in order to pass this class, but I know you're a foreigner, so you're probably language barrier, so they would just bump my scores a lot of times.
Mm-hmm.
So they were understanding in that regard, and they helped. Like there was obviously the ESL classes that would
Mm-hmm.
you had to get that, and the teacher there would like help a lot with all the mandatory tests you had to pass in order
Mm-hmm.
to graduate.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I guess those are a lot of resources. I mean, my parents also obviously were very helpful. Like my mom didn't work at the time. Obviously, well, she just came to America, so she didn't have an employment
Sure.
here. So she had a lot of time to help me with homework and organizing stuff, and getting your driver license, all of that.
Mm-hmm.
Same with my dad when he was here too. So yeah, I guess there was just a lot of help around me, but also it was like I feel like I just didn't know what to do except to follow rules, and I guess if you do that, it just works out.
Yeah, yeah. Interesting. So, just to clarify for anybody who maybe doesn't know, ESL, by that we don't mean the esports organization. We mean English as a second language.
Yeah.
So what do your parents do for employment, if you don't mind my asking?
So they used to. My dad used. It's kind of weird because like when you look at the immigrants, or at least the regular perspective, it's like someone who is like really poor, and they like come to America for this better life, and they finally get the education, they finally get the office job that they always dreamed about, instead of some hard labor in a third world country. For me, it was very different. Where my parents, they grew up through like the 90s and the 80s, where like Soviet Union collapsed, where everything like was completely lawless place, but they did some right moves. My mom was very smart. She was one of the few people who spoke good English at the time. She managed to get a job at the corporation. My dad started his own business in like selling big technology to other businesses. So he managed that, and my mom eventually also worked at her own company. Like it was like a paper company, but also like a printing company. But then when we moved, my dad was still going, because with the green card, you have to like 6 months you have to live in America, but 6 months you can be outside in order to comply with the green card standards. So he would go back and forth while still working there. My mom just kind of gave up on her thing and was just settling here. But eventually my mom took like all kinds of jobs. She's kind of like an inspiration in a way, where like like after looking at her, I feel embarrassed of like all the I've did in America, because she just came here. Also, like she had good English, but like she still struggled with understanding the accents and stuff. But she did everything at the time. Like she was a translator, car salesman.
Wow.
I don't remember, but she ended up now she teaches violin.
Oh wow.
Which apparently is very profitable in America comparing to Kazakhstan. You can actually make it here as a musician because people are willing to pay good money to learn, especially for the kids. Well, in Kazakhstan, that industry is dead. She had both my parents have the official like music education, but there's no use for it in Kazakhstan because no one has disposable income, first of all, to pay big money.
Yeah.
But it's just not as much demand, and you can only work at like schools, which are like government funded, and you get paid pennies. So they could never. My mom could never pursue that. But in America, she teaches kids violin and piano.
Yeah.
And my dad also ended up like from being like one of the two CEOs of his own company to now he does the I guess it's like a handyman, where he fixes people's fridges.
Yeah.
All the like kitchen and your dry or whatever is broken, he'll fix. Which is also apparently awesome in America. You actually get paid a fair living, because like in Kazakhstan, once again, if you work that job, not only you're looked down at as like from a society perspective, where like you are like in Kazakhstan, as funny as it sounds, but in Kazakhstan those jobs will also be a lot of the time taken by immigrants, which is funny because Kazakhstan is also considered a third world country, but it's like on the higher end of the third world country.
Yep.
And those jobs will be like very underpaid. But here, like they actually like I would still say they're underpaid. And also, there's a big tax on your health, but at least they're getting paid like you can live in San Diego by just doing manual labor work. Nothing wrong with that.
And it ain't cheap here, man.
Yeah. I guess if you ever had anything broken, you'll pay $300-400 to get something easily fixed.
Yeah. Yeah. I meant to live here. It ain't cheap, but yeah, both.
Oh
right?
Yeah. I mean, it's the same thing, right? Like
sure.
If you're fixing something, So yeah, I guess it's very different. Like where my parents had like a stable office jobs, where like they were in charge, and, doing pretty okay for Kazakhstan standards, to like manual labor and teaching. Which if they did that in Kazakhstan, it wouldn't be the best, but in America, it's perfectly fine. So very big change for my parents. So if you think my story is fascinating, just yeah, my parents just completely flipped their lives, in while they're much older. I feel like it was much harder for them than it ever was for me.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Jeez. Are you getting any background noise, by the way? I have my window open, which I don't usually do. No?
No, I don't hear anything.
Okay. Chat, if you're getting background noise, just yell at me. I'll shut the window. Um, yeah, man, that's fascinating. I think it's especially interesting too to just think about how versatile people are, right? Like these different jobs that you're talking about. Like, I feel like if you just, without hearing that story, if you're just like, hey, could somebody like conceivably do this many different things? Somebody would respond like, no, like that's crazy. You're not gonna like be a CEO and then a handyman, or like you're not gonna, be a car salesperson and then teach violin. Like, but
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, I think it speaks volumes about your parents that they were able to do all of that. Jeez.
It,
Yeah.
it kind of ties with like a light. Like I feel like a lot of people who came from like the ex-Soviet Union countries, they would kind of be similar. Where like just
Mm-hmm.
because like no one had disposable income, so like if you want to fix something in your house, it's on you. You
Mm.
want to learn something, it's on you. And job market was never stable. So one day you're working at the store, the next day you work as a car salesman, the next day you
Ah.
work somewhere else. Where it's just constantly you know like you kind of had to always do different jobs. So it's very like not crazy for us, for
Mm-hmm.
example. Well, for Americans, like you grow up, you decide you want to be a mechanic, you're a mechanic for the rest of your life, you're always
Mm-hmm.
in demand, you can always do that. The economy has been, well, not always stable. There's been up and downs, but
Sure.
for the most part, you can always stay in the lane. Well, like
Mm-hmm.
in countries, yeah, like I don't know if it's like in every third world country like that or the poorer countries, but
Mm-hmm.
in the ex-Soviet Union countries, it definitely was like that, where you just have to be a man of many trades in order
Mm.
to make it. So that's
Totally.
kind of where
Yeah.
my parents got it from.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I guess like it speaks volumes too to like I guess just thinking of American culture, right? If we rewind to like 10 minutes ago and think about how entitled the little outbursts I had of like, I worked for 12 years and then I got laid off due to the code. Can you believe it? Me, and it's like, wow, that really is the expectation if you're American, right? It's like, you go to school, go to college, get a degree, learn a trade, do that trade, and you have an expectation of job security, right? And if that ever gets pulled out from under you, even because of a global pandemic, you're like, what the hell? I can't
Yeah,
believe
well,
it.
I mean, it's good though, right? Like that's what it
Yeah.
makes. That's why the immigrants are all flooding here, because exactly of that expectation, where they
Mm,
know like the government is not just gonna take your house for no reason at any
mm,
point, or like there's all like, oh, in America there's a bunch of problems, and social security is not a guarantee, and job is not a
sure.
guarantee, and unemployment benefits are not a guarantee, but they're much more of a guarantee than most.
Mm-hmm,
I,
mm-hmm.
I guess Europe could compete, but America is still kind of the best at that, even despite all the negative news you see 24/7.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So in terms of just learning the language, do you feel like you just were able to kind of sponge it up through immersion? Like I honestly would never have guessed that you picked up English at 17. Like that kind of blows my mind. Like I can hear an accent a little bit when I hear you talk, but I've never thought, "Oh my god, this guy like learned English not that long ago," kind of thing.
Yeah, I definitely learned it as kind of like the kids would. I mean, I was still 17, which
Hmm.
is young enough where you're like your brain is not just
Yeah.
so like wired up that you can't change those wires. Where like
Hmm.
I still could pick it up. Um, but I mean, I spoke a little bit. Like I knew how to introduce myself. I knew to
Hmm.
say where I'm from, and I knew the alphabet, and I knew a little bit of a grammar. So like I wasn't a complete zero.
Sure.
But mostly like yeah, because I was lacking a lot of credits because in order to graduate American high school, you like most of the credits were transferred from my Kazakhstan school, so I had like a decent amount.
Hmm.
But there was like stuff like American history you have to pass. So there's
Ah,
so many
yep.
extra classes where like I was in school from 7 to like 4 every single day.
Hmm.
So that's like 8 hours at least of
Yeah.
just hearing English only.
Hmm.
So like you just had no choice but to learn it. And then you come home and it's 4 hours of homework, and then 2 hours of StarCraft, which is once again, if I'm streaming, I'm interacting with the English
Uh-huh.
viewers. So I'm learning through that. I'm at school, homework. Um, so yeah, it was just like there's just no choice, and your brain just picks it up. I definitely like was lucky that I was on the younger side of things where like it
Hmm.
was much easier. Like I feel like if I get thrown into like let's say Japan tomorrow,
Hmm.
I feel like it will take me. It will even if I go to university in the same situation, it will take me much longer to learn the language to the same level I did in with English.
Interesting. Yeah, just because of the head start that you had, you mean?
Um, even yeah, even if I had a head start, I feel like just overall, like
Mm,
just like now that I'm like older, it would be much
I
harder to
see.
learn
I
the
see.
language. Like I think
Yeah.
my brain is already wired to where like I'm more conscious of things, where like
Hmm.
it's harder to change things. But when you're 17, you're like you just do so many things unconsciously that
Hmm.
like if you're just picking stuff up, it just kind of like works. It just clicks for you. But as you get
Yeah.
older, like learning languages becomes much harder.
Hmm.
Which yeah, I think most people can say it's true, right? Like
Sure.
you always see like when the immigrant family comes over, it's usually like the younger the person, the faster they pick up the language, and the older, the harder it becomes for them. Even though they're all kind of in a similar position.
Hmm. Hmm.
And it's
Yeah.
not like the older person is dumber by any means. It's just it's much harder to rewire your brain to a new language as you get older.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just how your brain works. That makes sense. Thinking about, the streaming aspect of what you just said, you're like, okay, you do all this stuff, right? And then like now you're streaming and the audience is like largely English speaking, although, not entirely, I suppose. Was chat nice to you about that? Or did chat, like, were there trolls that would poke fun? Like, was it
I,
fine?
I mean, I mean, obviously everyone has their trolls, and I remember even having like when I started sharing, I totally forgot his name, but there was one guy who was he was like constantly trolling me, but I just didn't ban him because he was one of the few people talking in chat, and it was
Yeah.
mostly like friendly trolling. But he
Mhm.
ended up getting perma banned, and I totally forgot that he existed. But most people were nice, and I do think, considering how supportive my stream has always been, considering how little viewers I had,
Mm.
um, I do think that this Kazakhstan background, helped in a way. Like I kind of have to recognize my own privileges, where people are like, "Oh, this kid, it's a foreign guy struggling. Like, let's
Mm.
support this guy more than
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
would
Yeah.
somebody else." So I definitely had that, but also I think a lot of viewers dropped out of the stream because, for first of all, like harder to understand me, especially at the time where like the
Mm.
accent will like I did get a lot of comments where people are like, "How the fuck are you guys understanding what this guy is saying?" But it definitely would be like, yeah, if you listen to me for a bit, especially
Hmm.
back in the day, like it would be easier for people.
Hmm.
But yeah, I know like for a fact, like I definitely dropped some viewers because of that. But at the end, it's 50-50. I can't complain too
Sure.
much. But yeah, it wasn't too bad, I guess. And Stalker community overall, like there's trolls and stupid people all around, but at the end of the day, like the core community is pretty nice.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. I think so too. So what initially drew you to streaming? Like, how did you discover that Twitch was like a thing, and how did you decide that you wanted to do it?
Yeah, Wytra. Like that's simple.
Mm.
The whole Proto streaming, esports, everything was like I think Wytra has to get a credit because first of all, he was the one of the few people who did content in Russian for Protos at the time.
Hmm.
So I watched a couple of his videos and then I was like, well, this guy has like sponsor his stream and he's shouting them out. And
Yeah.
then he talked about some tournaments and I looked it up. People are making money and then I found out who Koreans are and I found out all this stuff. I found out Twitch. I don't remember the day I found Twitch.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
When I first started, I was using goodgame.ru, which is
Hmm.
like a Russian Twitch version. That's when I
Okay.
started streaming as well at the
Oh
time.
wow.
And then I would just link my Twitch stream to it, but the good game would still be my main, like, platform.
Yeah.
And that's where Russians would interact with me at the time. But
Hmm.
then I was like, it was just so little people there that eventually Twitch like outgrew, and good game was just like on the background noise. But yeah, like I would say Wytra was definitely a huge person who introduced me to the world of esports.
Hmm.
Where like I was like, well, first of all, he's just so likable, so it was
Yeah.
like, wow, like he was also older, so he also gave me some sort of. I didn't think about it at the time, but it definitely gave me a sense of stability. We're like, oh, this older guy, even when I was 17, he was still like probably 25, 26,
Hmm.
27. I don't really
Yeah.
remember. But I was like, yeah, older guy who's starting a family. He's just playing StarCraft. He's streaming on Twitch. He has a bunch of fans. Everyone loves him. Like
Hmm.
this is a thing. You can make it happen, and that's I
Yeah.
guess subconsciously that's where my push for the streaming and pro gaming started.
Hmm. Yeah, that's awesome. So, it sounds like you were into StarCraft before discovering White Rod, and then discovered White Rod because you were looking for StarCraft content. Is that the order of events, or?
Yeah, for sure. Like I played StarCraft as a kid. Like I had like my dad bought me Brood War when I was a kid, and I
Hmm.
remember like coming back from kindergarten and making my sister type up all the cheat codes because they were in English and I didn't know how to type in English, so she would
Yeah.
type me all the cheat codes so I could pass the campaign missions because I couldn't do it otherwise.
Hmm. Same.
I was a kid who just played with a mouse, so that
Yeah.
was really fun. And then I didn't play for a while. I played like Dota 1 in the Warcraft and Call of Duty. all the games that the kid would play. And then eventually, when I was like 16, I remember hanging out with one of my friends from my early school, and he was just overall an impressionate guy, but he was just so hyped about StarCraft. He was telling me how he constantly goes to the PC cafe and plays there, and he plays campaign, and he was just so excited about it that I asked my sister to buy it for me. She bought it for me, and I started playing, and then 6 months later, I ended up in America, and then I think I already discovered White Red before that, because that's when I got my consistent internet access. And once you get that, I think I was reading Battle.net forums a lot, because I was trying to like improve at the game, and then or like just see what people are saying and stuff, and like what's happening. And then someone mentioned White Red probably, and that's probably like I feel like that's how I found White Red. And then I found his YouTube and just watched a bunch. And then it just kind of started there.
Yeah, man, that's so cool. Okay, so your sister must be older then if you're asking her to type.
Oh, yeah, much older.
Got it.
She's like 8 years on me. Yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay, yeah, big gap. So did she make the hop to America with your whole family, or it was just you?
No, because the rules of the green card, my mom won it. So because my mom won it, she can bring her husband, obviously, and any child below 18. My sister was way above, so she has her own family. She has 2 kids.
Yeah.
She's in Kazakhstan. We cannot. Well, we're trying to get this long process of family reunion, because we got citizenship like 2 years ago.
Yeah.
So, but it's very complicated. And once again, like she has a husband, 2 kids. Like, how are they gonna come? What are they gonna live on? All that. Like, it's a whole new thing that starts, from all over. We're thinking of that, and eventually we think they will come here. But it's a complicated process.
Yeah, I actually I feel for you on that. So I mean, I'm a U.S. citizen, obviously have been my whole life. But one of my uncles actually was born in the Philippines, and obviously like he married into my family, right? But so he was my oldest aunt, actually. It's her husband. But in any event, he like joined the Navy and like got a citizenship that way, kind of thing. Like I guess back in the day when we like extra needed to recruit or something, they were like incentives. I don't know how it works, but so like he got his citizenship and then went through this exact process that you're talking about, where it's like huge headache. You got to like bring like one relative at a time over. There's all this paperwork and you got to justify all this stuff. But like, yeah, at this point now there's like a large cohort that has come over from the Philippines all through him. I mean, he's like, long since retired. He's like in his like 60s now. But yeah, I fully appreciate the struggle that you're talking about. Like that is not an easy thing. And
I mean, it makes sense. Like I'm not blaming anyone for this. The system makes sense in the sense where
sure.
Like, what if we bring like 10 people and we can't support them and they'll just end up homeless here? Like, you don't want that. So it makes sense that they're trying to, first of all, make sure that you can support them at first and they have enough money and they have a job lined up and all of that. But yeah, it's very complicated.
Yeah, absolutely. And it can feel like frustrating and arbitrary, right? When it's like, oh, well, we could bring this person, not that person because of this age, or it's a marriage.
Oh, yeah, I guess, yeah. That also is a thing, but
yeah.
I mean, most laws and rules are arbitrary.
I suppose, yeah, you have to draw a line somewhere, kind of thing. It makes sense. So, okay, you mentioned a couple times this notion of like not having consistent internet, and for me, that doesn't compute. Like, I don't understand what that means. So can you tell us what that means to not have it be consistent?
Well, for I guess we had some internet, but it was also only my sister and my parents had access to it. It was like the one where you pick up the phone, the internet breaks.
Yep.
So I never used that because I was not allowed, I guess, or I wasn't even interested in that. Like, I just wanted to play my games on the computer. Internet made no sense for me. And then after that, when we got our different house, we moved there for like a year and a half. We had the thing where we just had a flash card that had 2 gigabytes of internet, and that was a month for the whole family.
Yeah.
So like checking it, like that was just for my mom to check email, or like I could play StarCraft because like that wouldn't require too much internet. But if I wanted to play music at the same time or load YouTube video, like watch, I pretty much was allowed 1 White Red video a month. Otherwise, the internet would just be gone,
Yeah.
So I was very careful how to use, because we moved to the area where like internet providers couldn't get there, and like buying more like the other. I guess now that I think about it, my parents kind of like I don't want to say scammed me, but they just didn't want to buy more. I know for a fact they could have afforded a bigger flash card with more internet access at
Mm.
the time.
Hmm.
But I think they just didn't want me to spend too much time as well on it, so they just
Sure.
limited us to the this 2 GB limit where like there was just not much. But eventually we got a real internet provider, and we
Hmm.
actually had consistent internet where I could actually play and
Yeah.
watch stuff, whatever, and have no limit.
Hmm. Very cool. So during the time that you were in this, semi-online, semi-offline type situation, were you still grinding like a lot of 1v1s? Like, were you getting good, or you mentioned kind of fighting AI a lot, at least at some point in your life?
Um, well, yeah, mostly like as a kid. Once I started playing StarCraft 2, I started with campaign, but then I did start playing like a multiplayer a
Hmm.
little bit.
Yeah.
But I was like at the time, like before moving to America, like when I
Hmm.
was like 17 and stuff, I was
Yeah.
still like in platinum, and I just played for fun. I played a bunch
Hmm.
of 2v2s. It was a time of a pure love. Like I just enjoyed it so much.
Yeah.
I didn't have much time at the time too, because I was high school, sports, whatever, and my
Hmm.
parents didn't want me to spend too much time in front of the computer, so I just um yeah, it was just a couple of games a day, and I just loved it, and I just played. I didn't have no guides, no nothing.
Yeah.
I just did what felt cool. I mean, I tried to when I started watching, I tried to copy him a bit,
Hmm. Yeah.
whatever the strategy he did and all the cool stuff. But yeah, it was mostly just like, yeah, enjoy the game and exploring it on your own.
Hmm. Interesting. So at what point did you sort of realize like that you were getting good? Like when did that happen? What was that sort of moment in time? Because at some point you shift to like, now I'm gonna like really grind and train. Was it just inspiration from White Raw first, or like what was kind of that spark?
Yeah, it was definitely like not white related at that point. Like the
Hmm.
spark and skill and like actually competing in tournaments definitely happened during streaming. Where like, well, I started streaming when I was already GM, so I got
Hmm.
GM, and I was, yeah, pretty sure then I started streaming a little bit, and I got
Hmm.
GM super fast. Like I
Hmm.
was so passionate about the game, and I just every second that I had, like I would play or whatever it is, or watch. And then yeah, I got GM like within a year. Like by the time I was 18, I was already GM, and I started
Hmm.
streaming, and then I think yeah, like just because I was streaming a lot, I just played a lot, and then one day you beat Minigun, the other day you beat Nina or Puck at the time,
Mm.
or you beat like Scarlet if you're lucky, or
Yeah.
Hawk, all those names, and you're like, well, those guys have 100K in tournament earnings. Why can't I? I just beat them a ladder,
Yeah.
and then I started signing up for small tournaments, and then I was like, oh shit, I just made $10. And then slowly like challengers appeared, and I'm like, oh, like I just took some games of really big names, and I didn't qualify, but I did okay.
Hmm.
And then all slowly build up, and I mean that was a time where like just positive results just reinforced and more passion. Where I was like, oh, like
Hmm.
I'm getting closer, and I just at the time I loved the game so much, and I loved the community and everything, that it just always natural.
Yeah.
Versus like now where like everything is just systematic, and I just have to do it. I have to sign up. I have to beat this
Mm.
guy. But at the
Hmm.
time it was just like, oh my god, like I was fanboying over my opponents when I was beating them, and I was just like, it was all just so like, yeah. At the time it was beautiful. I definitely became like an emotionless robot towards StarCraft now. Well, at the time it definitely was like such a passion thing for me.
Hmm. Hmm. Man, that's so interesting. So, okay, you're telling me you rode like pure passion all the way to GM, like you just accidentally attained this rank that a lot of people like may never touch, no matter how hard they try.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, like I wasn't like systematically waking up. All right, I gotta practice for 10 hours. No, I was just like,
Yeah.
holy shit, I can play StarCraft. Let's fucking go.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like I,
Yeah.
I was just a happy little kid who just, and then yeah, discovered tournaments. It was purely passion. It
Man,
was
oh
no
man.
logic behind it. No nothing.
I wish I had whatever that is, man. Damn.
I mean,
That's
same. I wish I had that now too. It would have made my life much easier. But it just some things just come and go, and
mm,
you never get to experience it again.
yeah, yeah, it makes sense. Oh, interesting. Yeah, so the it sounds like the moment that I was kind of poking at that where you're like, "Oh, huh, I actually might be kind of good at this." That came when you're literally like, killing people on ladder that you knew had earned a bunch of money. Is that like what finally convinced you that you were actually good at the game?
Kind of. I mean, there's never the point where I like woke up one morning and realized I'm good at the game. It was very
Okay.
like
Gradual.
it was just kind of happening. Where like every day my rank on ladder improves.
Mhm.
I beat better players more and more consistently. I can do this. I can do that. I just won $15 from this tournament, 50 from that one. Got
Mhm.
invited to show match. got invited to the team. We played this clan war. I did really well in this clan war. You know, it was just like
Yeah.
a slow progress when you realize. And then I guess if you're talking to the point where I was like, oh, I'm gonna drop streaming and then start like pro gaming hardcore,
Mm-hmm.
that was like, yeah, it wasn't like a crazy decision because I was like, well, I already was in Challenger. I was already qualifying for it. Like I was already a pro gamer when I decided to be pro gamer, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
I just decided to pursue it more. Because I still had, you know, those dreams of lifting the trophy, you know.
Yeah.
So yeah, like I was already good when I realized that like I can be better, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
But just getting good was just purely a passion project, and a lot of it is on the back of streaming for sure. Like I feel like if it wasn't for streaming at some point, I would be playing a lot less.
Interesting. Yeah.
So that helped me like get through this, like especially mechanically. Like I would improve a lot mechanically just because like if you play a lot on stream, you don't really improve your like game understanding as much, or you know, you don't learn as much because you're streaming and you're not as focused. But mechanically, like that definitely helped me like bridge the gap between me and the pro gamers at the time.
Yeah, that makes sense. And so was that just because you were having fun hanging out with people in the stream, or you felt like you had to do it like to grow viewership or that kind of thing?
Yeah, like yeah, that's different. And then now I feel like, well, I really enjoy my community. Like I don't want to get it wrong, but at the time, I don't think I had like, I think now I have a much closer relationship with my community where like I've met with a bunch of people IRL, you know, I talk to them off stream. I know what they do for work. I know when they're struggling. I know when they're happy. Like I do think we're like at the time it wasn't like, it was before the Discords, you know, like I didn't have like my Discord chat.
Yeah.
My Twitter was non-existent, you know, like as soon as stream is off, like I don't talk to anyone except like very few people. But yeah, at the time it just felt really cool to have people watch. That was what it is. It was just like an idea of someone watching my games and complimenting my play was insane to me. Like right now, I don't care. Like someone comes in, oh, PiLiPiLi, I think you're the best. I'm like, what are you talking about? I'm like trash. Like go look at Neeb. But at the time, if someone was like, wow, you just beat this guy, that's really awesome. Like to me, it gave me genuine happiness at the time, like getting recognition. Which I guess like I was also like, you know, still like teenager, and you know I'm in a new country. You know I don't have too many friends, stuff like that. So it was a very little source of affirmation as a human overall. So I guess streaming did give me that in the sense too.
Man, yeah, that's so interesting. And I feel like yeah, I guess I want to give you a little bit of credit too, because you definitely seem very like conscious of that, right? Of like how cool that was for you, or how important. And I definitely do get that sense of gratitude from you. Like I feel like maybe I remember you saying this on a stream that I was watching, like, I don't know, it was probably a couple months ago by now, but like there must have been like somebody like spammed the Discord command or whatever, and you felt the need to give this aside of like, hey guys, by the way, I'm not just like, I don't want you to just join this so that I like, you know, feel good about the number of people that's in there. Like, just join it if you want to actually like talk to me. Like, I actually do talk to the people in my Discord. You like actually took a moment, like an aside from Ladder, to really like dive that, and that stuck with me. That speech that she did around it, like that you really do, and clearly like from the anecdote that you just said too, of like, you know what people do for work. You know if they're having, you know, a hard time right now, if things are going well, and you're hyped about them. So it's interesting because I feel like now a lot of streamers, like, I guess the ones who have like nice hearts, right? They feel like, oh, Discord exists, so I should do this thing, right? But it's like Discord existing is what taught them that maybe this is a thing that a streamer should do, and it should be like a part of like what your job is. It's like, know your community, build your community, and like be nice to them and be invested in them and all this. But it sounds like you very naturally came to that before Discord ever existed to even hint to us that that was a thing, you know, like that. I think that that's a really cool, like, that says a lot about who you are as a person, I feel.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. Like and a lot of streamers get this wrong, I think. Where when I say get this wrong, like I also sound like, oh, like very systematic, where like this is how you have to do it. You know, you have to pretend to like, maybe some people don't like the community, or they have other things they don't want to talk to people on the internet, kind of thing. But yeah, like when I was like trying to like get ideas for my Discord, because I definitely got on the Discord train way after most people. Like you know, the Discord started getting big in like 2017, like right as I was quitting.
Yeah.
So I was trying to join Discords and see what people are doing, and it was just like some were cool, but most of them are super inactive. Where like it's just nothing happens. They just link their stream once a day, and then like some people will like ask a question and get ignored for 2 days. Yeah, so I was trying to avoid that. Where, like people actually talk, and I try to have like games. Like we used to play Dota a lot doing my Discord, and Sometimes we just link music or just, not always, like some days there's nothing happening, but it's cool to just have random talks with your viewers and getting to know them more and more. And
Mm-hmm.
obviously that also builds some sort of loyalty. And
Yeah.
it's good for like long term too, because once again, StarCraft is not going to stick around forever.
Mm-hmm.
You know, um, even like like someone can help you find a job. You never know that, or they can watch you do other stuff, or you can help them later. Maybe you
Mm-hmm.
can help them start streaming career. I know a lot of people in my community have tried like streaming and still are, and some actually doing pretty well.
Mm-hmm.
And I was always happy to help them. And overall, like industry is also hard. Like I know for a fact I can help some people with like taxes. Like no,
Mm.
like most people like that's also like a plus of like being a streamer. Like you're self-employed, you're learning a lot
Yeah.
about the laws, the taxes, the healthcare industry, because you have
Mm-hmm.
to do it all yourself. Like you don't just have an employer that just like, oh, I just took off your taxes, don't even worry about it.
Right. Yeah.
Just snap your picture of your 1099, you're good.
Right.
um you learn all of that, and that's information that you can share with other streamers, like, hey, you can write this off, or this is how you pay
Mm-hmm.
taxes, this is how you save money, this is how you build your community, this is how you stream. um so yeah, it's just like and maybe down the line they'll help you back, or
Mm-hmm.
vice versa. So it's kind of like you would build connections like at university, where
Yeah. Yeah.
it's very similar.
That's so fascinating you point that out. I'm actually so glad you said this because I've had that thought in my head. I forget what book I was reading recently, but it was like a book about like career advice. It was when I got laid off. I'm like, what the fuck do
Oh.
I do? Right. Like, and a buddy of mine who's another software guy, actually he's one of my moderators too. Sent me, he's like, yeah, this is like a book about like sort of like life hacking your job search, like not make it take a ton of time kind of deal. And this book goes on and on and on about your alumni network from college. I'm like, that was a decade ago, bro. Like you're not helping me now, right? And I think like, I don't know. I mean, like I paid attention and tried to. I was very much like you growing up, where like I did follow all the rules and I didn't question anything. And like, okay, what do I do? Okay, now I go to university. Cool. I should get a job in like a STEM field because that's where I'll get money. Okay, cool. I'll do that. Whatever. Like, just listened to whatever I was told. Right? Teachers, parents, whoever. Where was I going with this? What were we talking about? I totally lost my train of thought.
Chapter, I guess the getting connections.
Yeah, the alumni network thing. So like nobody told me that at university. I didn't leave with an alumni network. And so I wonder if this is like a thing where if you're like a nerd, you don't do it. And if you like are extroverted, like maybe you get like a business degree or something, they teach you this. But I've realized now that actually like StarCraft is my alumni network, because in the past like year and a half, I have needed a lawyer, a physical therapist, like, all these different experts, right? And I've like put it out there on Discord or Twitter and had like multiple people say, yeah, I got you. I'll eyeball that legal document for you. Or yeah, hey, let's do a Discord consult for your like this issue that you need physical therapy for. And it's like, you get a better result than if you just went and paid somebody. It's amazing, actually.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean that's also like StarCraft is kind of unique in that regard. I wouldn't say that gaming community is that. Like we
Yeah.
do have boomers, there's a lot more boomers out there. But yeah, you're totally right. Like if I look at my Twitch chat, my supporters, like some of them are learning to be a software engineer. Some of them are, like, for example, Fear Dragon in chat right now. Well, he's a great like software guy. Like he can get you everything done. Obviously, I've never asked him because I never needed anything, but I do feel like if I ever need something, like he can help.
Yep.
Some other people in my chat, some are bankers, some are lawyers. They all can give you advice. So they're just people at the end of the day that they have experiences, they have expertise at some stuff where they can just help. So and a lot of them are the older side of things where they actually have stable jobs and families, so that they definitely have more experience. And a lot of times you would, by getting networks with other college kids that are just as confused as you.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense. So, okay, one of the things that we haven't really done a deep dive into yet, but you've mentioned it a couple times, is Dota, right? And this has obviously been a big part of, it's been at least a big side quest in your life, I think it would be fair to say.
I feel like people have made it a bigger deal, because I was just like, when I started playing Dota, it did remind me of a time when I started playing StarCraft. It was just like a pure passion thing, where I just enjoyed the games. I just played it a bunch. I didn't really spend too much time watching someone or learning. I just played because like it was fun for me.
Yeah,
and it was something different. But yeah, I feel like there's definitely a meme where like I'm a failed Dota 2 pro gamer. Like I played for like 6 months a lot,
right?
And after that, I went into college, and then like once I'm in university in dorms, like I had no real time, so kind of dropped. But yeah, the 6 months I played a lot, and I got to a decent MMR, and I was happy, and I had a lot of fun. In hindsight, it was kind of a waste of time, but if you enjoyed that time, it's not really wasted, I guess.
Yeah.
I could have still be doing StarCraft at the time for that time, and would have been more productive. Um, but yeah, I would say Dota wasn't that big. Like, it was just a game that I did while I wasn't enjoying StarCraft.
Sure.
All
Yeah.
it was. Obviously, like, there was a time where I was like, maybe if I play this game for 2 more years, I can actually become a pro gamer. Like, I have this in me.
Yeah.
And Dota pro gamers get paid a lot more than StarCraft pro gamers. So like, even if you become like a mid tier, you'll still be kind of set for life.
Yeah.
So the thought crossed my mind, but like, as soon as I got into university and the dorm life and all of that, then it was over after that.
Yeah. Yeah. That definitely makes sense. Yeah, I think along these lines, maybe again you're being a little bit hard on yourself. So like I'm thinking back to the book club that I do off and on. The episode we did with Pig was on this book called Range, where it basically talks about how all these little like seemingly random like bullshit side quests in your life that you're like, why did I do that? That was a waste of time, whatever. Like actually like usually ends up helping you. Like all these people that have invented all these amazing things, and the book has like a million examples of it, right? It's always because they did like 7 different like seemingly unrelated things that ultimately like coalesced in this awesome whatever. So I almost feel like I don't want to let you knock yourself too bad for that, right? Because like what if the next game comes out and all of a sudden like your StarCraft experience is super relevant, but also some of your Dota experience is relevant in terms of like game mechanics, right? And now all of a sudden you're a god at this game because nobody else grinded both in the amounts that you did or something like that. Like that's not like a crazy narrative to construct, right?
Yeah, for sure. Like, you always get out something. And I mean, yeah, playing a team game also helps you. Like, maybe it taught me how to communicate with your teammates better, or communicate overall. Like, like, I think anything you do, like, as long as you do something with passion, you will get some sort of life lesson out of it. That's definitely true. It's just always like an opportunity cost, right? Like, maybe I've got a lesson out of Dota, but let's say I did 6 months of, I don't know, like anything else, perhaps it would have been just a bigger lesson for that. So kind of always have to look at it from opportunity cost kind of thing. Like, I don't think anything I've done in my life has been like put me behind experience wise. Like, I'm always, even if I did something really stupid, it's a lesson. If I did something less stupid, it was, then it was like a productive, where I did something good for myself. But there's always like, you could be doing something time that's better. So even if you like, even if like you could look at anyone like that, right? Like, you could have became a best StarCraft player in the world, or you could have became a best doctor in the world. Say, like, there's always this could have, should have, and you shouldn't let yourself think like that, because that's how you get depressed 24/7. But there's always this time trade-off that you could be doing something else and be just as good at it.
Sure. Yeah, that definitely makes sense. So I guess along the lines of, since we're talking about like opportunity costs and StarCraft versus other things, like how are you kind of thinking about your position within that ecosystem, given sort of what we know about the I guess it's like a little bit less than 2-year guarantee at this point that we have sort of around the tournament ecosystem. Are you more just thinking about, okay, I've got like a not stable income from streaming, but I've got income from streaming, and I've got this community that supports me, and so I can just chill regardless of what happens with tournaments? Or does the tournament piece factor in enough for you that you're uneasy about that?
Yeah, it definitely started. Like, even this year, we're already feeling it just from having war chests. Like, I look at the prize money for DreamHack. Like, for example, what I would have to get like 2 places higher this year to get the same money I did last year.
Yep.
So that already kind of hurts. But then again, it's money. I do think it will be kind of worse, like less tournaments, meaning like less people will watch StarCraft, more people will quit, maybe that, but we're still not uncertain. But yeah, that's kind of the benefit of streaming, where like I don't think people will stop watching StarCraft just because there's no official tournament. Still be a bunch of community ran tournaments, bunch of passion going around. And you can also look at the bright side. There's no DreamHack. There's no broadcast that takes all your viewers for 8 hours a day.
Yeah,
so
true.
you get a little more opportunities. That, like, you can always find a good side on that stuff. And we still don't know that they will completely cut StarCraft 2 years from now.
Right,
so
right.
Hope. But yeah, I don't really focus on that too much.
Hmm. Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense. And you're right. Like there's potential upside even if they don't renew the tournaments. In that, yeah, you're all of a sudden whatever community thing you're playing in has all of the viewership of that dream hack or whatever because like it is the most hype possible thing that's happening in StarCraft at that moment, right? It almost just moves right over. Yeah, very very interesting. So in terms of I guess your goals then moving forward, is it more just to kind of find your path? Do you have like a preferred path that you hope you land on? It sounds like, at the beginning of this discussion, we were talking about like, oh, might go this way, might go that way. Like, what are you thinking? Like, what do you want right now? Or what do you think you
Yeah, that's a question I don't have the answer for you, because yeah,
want?
I'm just, there's like a bunch of scenarios that could be okay for me. I mean, one of them could be, obviously with streaming, I can move anywhere. Obviously, I don't have to live in one of the most expensive places in the world, aka
Right.
San Diego.
Yeah.
I can just move to South Dakota and do the exactly same thing I do, and be making good income from StarCraft. And
Hmm.
I'm definitely just trying to get to a point where, like, no matter what I do, I'm okay. I'm
Hmm.
just trying to get to a point where I have options, so I don't have to stress every night.
Yeah.
So the ideal scenario is like I do okay with StarCraft, do okay with streaming, where I can either pursue a degree
Hmm.
while doing that and just pay it off that way, and still stay financially stable, or I just keep doing StarCraft, save up a bunch of money, and then just hope that, like, I can do something smart with that money,
Hmm.
where, like, I can keep doing StarCraft while I have some investments, or I start something on my own, kind of that. Or once again, go back to school anytime I want. At the
Hmm.
end of the day, that's another benefit of America, where, like, you can go back
Yeah.
to school whenever you want. Like, there's no one's judging you for that.
Hmm.
Um, or yeah, if I kind of do StarCraft, but also start like an entry level job somewhere in finance, where
Hmm.
I eventually like do it with StarCraft, but once I build it up my finance resume, I can go full time and
Sure.
perhaps work from there. Um, so yeah, basically, I'm just trying to build my stream to a point where, like, I can just be consistent, where, like, I just have options.
Hmm. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
yeah, a lot of it ties with money, obviously, nowadays, where
Hmm.
nothing is cheap in this country, so you kind of have to be smart about it.
Sure. Yeah. It makes sense. End of the day, you need the lights on, you need food to eat.
Yeah.
So okay, thinking then to more future scenarios that we don't know enough about, right? Um, how much are some of these new companies that are, there's rumors of RTSs being developed. How much is that on your radar, right? Are you thinking about trying whatever Frost Giant does, whatever Sunspear does? Are you looking at that kind of stuff at all?
Yeah, of course. Like, as a streamer perspective, if that becomes a new thing, then there's no reason not to try. And you can always become like an RTS variety streamer,
Yeah,
YouTuber, whatever it is. Like, there's definitely hopes. But the Frost Giant, it's really hard, because there's like literally nothing we know, except we're
sure.
just hyped about the people who are doing it.
Right, yeah.
So I'm keeping zero hopes for that. And the
Hmm.
Sunspear game looks okay. I did have actually access to the pre-alpha for a while, but because
Mm,
you can't stream it, and you can only do like YouTube content that is approved by them,
mm,
which is perfectly fine. Like,
yeah.
I don't think it's anything wrong with that. But, like, I'm so bad at YouTube, at editing, like, I don't have skills. So there's just no point for me to go there now. Like,
Mm,
maybe once, like, the actual game releases, I'll definitely stream it and try it, and perhaps maybe, like, if there's tournaments, maybe I'll be good enough to compete or
mm,
just stream or give guides. uh, it's definitely something on my mind, but I feel like the timeline is so far off, where, like, the
ah,
next 2 years, 2, 3 years will determine so much for me, where, like, those
mhm.
games might not even come out.
True,
So
yeah.
I don't, it's definitely like way, way, way back in my mind. Like,
Mhm,
I'm not
mhm.
worried about it too much. I hope they do well. Like, obviously wish them the best. And
Yeah.
even if I am never really, do anything related to them, because I quit StarCraft or streaming,
Mhm.
like, I hope they do really well. Like,
Yeah, yeah.
but for personal decisions, yeah, it doesn't matter as much for me, right?
Sure, that makes sense. I guess, like you say, timeline wise, it just doesn't line up to where it would really be a factor.
Yeah.
Do you see yourself like, okay, let's say, let's just imagine the narrative, right? You end up, one way or another, you end up being a finance guy. You're a badass finance guy, making a ton of money, living the life, like, just loving it. Do you see yourself still wanting to play either RTS or MOBAs? Like, would you have that in your brain of like, I gotta have this in my life at least a little bit, kind of thing?
Yeah, I don't think I'll ever, like, live a life without playing video games.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like that's just, I don't know what I'll play. Like, it's a good question. Like, if I had complete freedom away
Mm-hmm.
from everything, away
Mm-hmm.
from like financial responsibility. Like I was just, on an island and I have a computer and the only thing I can do is play any video game. What would I choose?
Yeah.
I don't have an answer for you, honestly, because especially if I have to like try first every game, like obviously now I would pick like StarCraft and Dota because familiar games.
Mm-hmm.
But if it was just like me just playing, like no streaming, it's all about me, then I don't know. Perhaps I would pick something like maybe even like CS:GO. Who knows? Maybe Call of Duty. Maybe I'll play Dota. Maybe I'll play StarCraft. I don't know. It's really hard. But all of it, like StarCraft has the community factor, so I always come back and be like, oh wow, this guy is still playing. Oh wow, this guy is streaming. Let's help this guy out, or let's watch him, let's talk to him. Or this guy that watched me, he's still playing. That's awesome, So it's definitely like the community factor will always bring me back to StarCraft. That's no questions asked. But what I'll play, I feel like if I had ultimate freedom, StarCraft would not be the only game I would play at the moment. And obviously, other RTSs would always pretty awesome.
Yeah, very cool. So then it sounds like you feel a little bit kind of like, again, probably based on opportunity cost and like only so many hours in a day and stuff. You do feel a little bit locked into StarCraft in the sense of like you can't stream a different game, or you can't just be like, I feel like playing a couple matches of CS:GO tonight. That feels like wasted time to you, essentially.
Yeah, pretty much. And I'm gonna sound a little crazy considering that my personality, but it's definitely a Taurus thing, where the sign, whatever. I don't even know what you would call it. I guess it's your zodiac sign, but it's kind of true. Like I feel like we have this in the brain, or at least my personality type. It might have nothing to do with zodiac or whatever, but definitely my personality type. If I'm not productive, I'm unhappy.
Okay.
Like I rather like 12 hours of just like trying to. Like I'd rather spend 12 hours trying to make $10 and then not even make it than spend 12 hours doing nothing and then get paid $100 at the end, because it would just kill me inside. Like I have to be doing something where like if I feel like I'm just having fun, like it just doesn't justify me a lot. And it's not like I don't do anything for myself or for fun, but especially when it comes down to video games, it's hard. Like I used to play Dota, and that would, or we kind of stopped. But yeah, when I played a lot of Dota recently with my viewers, it constantly bugged me, and like we're like, oh, I just spent 3 hours playing Dota, and that was a total waste of my time. And like sometimes it would make, and that's why I cut back a little by little.
Yeah.
So there's definitely a thing where like if I'm not consciously productive, I'm a little unhappy.
How do you think about other stuff, like for example like physical fitness or sleep or something like that? Do you look at those and say, okay, I got to do that to keep sort of everything running well?
My sleep is a mess. Like I never really care about sleep. Obviously it's important. Like I do feel like sometimes I wake up with a better mood than others. But like I go to sleep at 3 in the morning, I wake up at 12 perfectly. It's like just considering my schedule. And gym is really important. I haven't been to the gym in a while. I just came back like 2 weeks ago, so like this is like today is my first day of the third week. I'll be going to the gym because it was being closed, so we just got into the orange, whatever. So I've been going, and I definitely noticed like a mood, like better mood once I'm working out for sure. So that's pretty good. Like I think like working out or like it doesn't have to be gym. Like any physical activity is really good for the mood, and obviously like it's just good for your health since you spend so much time in front of the computer.
Right.
And sleep wise, like it's important to get enough sleep, I guess, but I never care when do I get that sleep.
I see.
As long as it fits my schedule with streaming.
Yeah, that definitely makes sense. So another thing that we didn't talk about, this will probably be my last sort of big topic for you, because I know you got other stuff you got to do tonight, is YouTube. So you kind of said, oh, I'm not good at it. I don't, all the effects or whatever. Like, but I will say, I mean, you have put out some content that's making a difference. You like, I still am practicing the PiLiPiLi 420 challenge, trying to get my adepts in there. Although the meta has not been nice to that build. I tell you what.
Definitely got a little harder.
Yeah.
Definitely got a little harder.
But yeah, I mean, you are doing some. So are you just thinking of that as like this thing where you don't feel like you're good at it, but it's a necessity? Are you wanting to build it up? What's your thoughts around YouTube?
Yeah, YouTube been weird because at first I didn't want to start it because I was just like, well, I'm never gonna. Well, yeah, I just didn't feel it. And then definitely Hearthstone was like an inspiration. Like I talked to him, like the viewers he has, the money he makes, the content he puts out. I was like, wow, like you get inspired by him for a little bit. So that's when I started, and that's when I did like my best video yet, the 420 challenge. Zero editing. I didn't have a thumbnail. I made a thumbnail on some sketchy website. I didn't edit my video at all. Just uploaded it raw.
Yeah.
It was like it was just the pure idea. So
Yeah.
like, but those ideas don't come around too often, and I'll go like it was hard. I do think YouTube definitely helped my Twitch. Like I do know for a fact there's few subscribers and new viewers that purely just like found about who I was through YouTube. So it's definitely not something that to overlook, but it's really hard because like making original content is really hard. And I don't have the personality, like I'm more of a like I'm a just chill guy, I guess. I just sit there play games. I crack some like some humor jokes, but like it's nothing like Hearthstone. I can't really blow up like that, I don't think.
Yeah.
And I don't have this like I can't put on a smiley face like Loco or Winter where like, hey guys, today I'm gonna kill myself if I do that. So and that's what you need for YouTube. That's just the truth. If you don't have this really upbeat personality, you're done. Unless you're like really like unless you have like something really unique, which I just don't think I have. At least I haven't found it for myself. And doing guides and other stuff is too time consuming and simply not worth it. And I still try to do sometimes, but
sure.
Yeah, like it was a point where like I got really excited about it, the Hearthstone, and then Panda Bear Me was like helping me with like editing, and I was learning things. But then I was like, wow, I'm putting so much time into it.
It's a lot of work. Yeah.
Like I'm not gonna get monetized on YouTube for another year. There's some indirect income from it. Like I said, like people discover your Twitch through that, but it just simply became not worth my time. And I still do some stuff where like I would highlight some stuff. Just my stream highlights and put up, and maybe someone missed the game, they can watch it on YouTube. Like, there's definitely a benefit to it, but yeah, I've been putting a lot less work on it. It's just it's too damn hard. Like if Twitch was hard, then YouTube was twice as hard.
Yeah, man, I totally feel you on that. Like when I talked to Loco, I think it was last week. I think I even said it to him, like, damn, dude, like you're just like pure smiliness is like a superpower, right? And it's like he's perfect for YouTube in that way, where because that's what plays well. And like it even sounded like for him, some aspects of the YouTube formula and just the way the algorithm works is like, ugh, I don't love that this is a part of my job. Like he had a lot of conflicted feelings around like having to do these like clickbait title type, style things. And it's like, that is just what does well there. Right. And it's like, he can make the same good content and he can be like, hey, this is a video about this Raynor versus Cyril game, and I think it's really good and you should watch it. Or he could be like, craziest Baneling all in ever, right? It's like, which of these makes him more money? So what are you going to do, kind of thing. Yeah, YouTube is a strange beast for sure. But I'm glad that you're doing that YouTube content because I've benefited directly from it. I mean, I was for years doing the 2016 era Neeb 7 Adept opener, right?
Oh, the one where you shit backwards and then you go like either double Stargate or Robo Forge to the third. Yeah, I know.
I was just all inning off of a Robo off of it, but I was using that 7 Adept opener, right? The initial pressure, right?
I see.
And then you came out with that video, and I'm like scratching my head. I'm like, hold on though, you have one more Adept and a Robo unit already done, and you're hitting at the same time as this thing that I've been, and it's like I had painstakingly refined every single piece of that, like get the 7 Adepts across the map thing, and I'm still better at doing the worst version of it. Like I actually hit earlier and with more than when I try to do it your way, which I know is better, right? But I'm just taking the beatings with it because I know that like your version of that opener is just better, right? So I know eventually one day I'll be good enough at it that like I'm hitting those timings a little bit earlier and stuff. But yeah, I mean, so that's like huge, right? And for people like me who are really like try hard at improving, but don't necessarily have sort of like the youth or the giftedness or whatever it is that you have, right? To be able to just like get good through passion. Yeah, I do feel like it makes a big difference. So I hope you don't give up on YouTube, even though it can be a pain sometimes.
Yeah, well, I'm not like fully giving up, and I do think I'll put some content. Maybe one day, like if I have the second wave passion, maybe that'll be the pull through. You never know when those happen. But yeah, like YouTube is important, and you can definitely make big there, like much bigger than you could on Twitch. Like the money on YouTube is considerably more attractive than money on Twitch, hands down. But it's also like so hard, and you're starting from zero. It's a completely different audience, and yeah, lots to learn, lots to do, and yeah,
makes sense. Okay, so I've talked your ear off but I want to make sure I don't miss anything. Is there any, topic or question that springs to mind where you're like, oh my God, he's a terrible interviewer. Why didn't he ask me about this? I always give everybody the opportunity,
Well, as a journalism major, I think you did pretty good. Like you
Oh,
always had
thank you.
these smooth
Phew.
transitions from one question to another. I could tell you did your prep. Um, Let me think. Yeah, I think we covered my career for the most part. Yeah, I feel like that was pretty good.
Awesome. Very cool. Okay, then we'll do a fun question to end us off here. Is there another pro gamer who either you think, man, people are sleeping on this person right now, or you look at something that they have and you're like, man, I wish I had that superpower, or maybe it's just somebody who's like a peer who you really respect. Is there anybody who comes to mind that you want to kind of like hype up or shout out in any kind of way?
Oh, I gotta be careful because with the hyping up thing, I feel like the
Yeah,
last year it happened. Like I've been wrong so many times, or maybe not wrong, but like I feel like I was like, oh yeah, he's about
you cursed them.
any minute now, any minute
Yeah.
now. Well, it was Patty Mac for sure. Like I
Uh-huh.
don't know what happened to him. Like I was hyping him up the whole last year, and right now
Uh-huh.
he just disappeared. I don't know. Maybe he's going to college, whatever it is. Maybe he's taking
Yeah.
it back. I felt Patty Mac was the guy that was like smart enough, young enough, passionate enough, could just be like fairly strong, like Australia level at least.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, now like you have this Trigger guy came out of nowhere. Like I didn't know about him a month ago, and I
Mm-hmm.
thought it was a Smurf, and now all of a sudden he's a legit guy who's just like starting to do okay. You have Ryan. I'm just
Mm.
listening to it just also seems like there's definitely balance why it's going to come out like, oh yeah, all those talented new Protoss players come out of nowhere. I wonder why. But yeah, I feel like Ryan definitely is young enough and smart enough where he can do well.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I mean, Future. Last year I definitely thought he would like he did really well last year, but I thought he would do much better this year. But he also had a little bit of burnout. But I do think he will like. He's kind of going through the same road I did. I just hope he does it better. Where like he was really good, and he got a little burned out. Now he's like playing League of Legends all the time. But I feel like he will be smart. Like he's smarter than me, and he's in a better situation. He was still younger than when I was, where he will like take another year and try hard and do really well.
Mm-hmm.
So that would definitely be the lineup. But as for people who I'm like looking forward or like looking up to,
Mm-hmm.
I mean Harston for personality. Like I wish I had his energy where
Yeah.
he would be. I don't know how he's still so excited about Star. I have no idea.
I
He's
wish
been
I had
around forever,
I
but
wish I had his brain for like content ideas, man, because he's come out with some shit where I'm like, oh my fucking God. Like I'm so into watching this, and I'm also so angry that you thought of that before me. Like
that's kind of the thing. Yeah, that's actually so true. When I was starting my YouTube, I was thinking of ideas, and I was like, "Oh, this brilliant idea! Oh, Harston already did it.
Yep.
Oh, Harston already kind of did it. God damn it! You know, like, well, he just took every Protoss idea in the world, and I'm
Right.
like an idiot. Um, that's why, like, yeah, this 420 idea was like one of the few ones I could come up that wasn't
Mhm.
already done. The concept of like having people to try to execute your build and they get like a reward for it kind of thing.
Mhm.
But yeah, totally that. Um, but I guess for play style wise or overall like for practice, it'll definitely be Neep.
Mm.
Neep definitely at least I don't know like I think Neep changed a little bit to be honest. Like I
Mhm.
think he grew up and I don't think he doesn't have this in him as much anymore. But he used to have this thing obviously where he like 2016 where he would just wake up, drink his coffee, play hours, ladder for 10 hours, analyze every replay,
Yeah.
understand everything, be perfect,
Yeah.
go to sleep, do this every single day. Like he
Right.
used to be able to do it. I wish I could. Like I just
Mm.
like I don't know what kind of personality that is. I don't know how your brain's supposed to work to do like that. If he's like pushing, if I don't know if he's like playing himself like some Rocky motivational video every day when his shower or something. Like I don't know where he gets that from, but
Yeah.
it looks like so chill for him. It's just like almost like a robot. But obviously that's not what goes on inside a real human being.
Mhm.
But I wish I could do that where I would just look like a robot, just practice every day. And
Yeah.
obviously I wish I had that in 2017 because I feel like I would do much better if I did, but just never came across me.
Mhm. Mhm. Man, yeah, lots of fun threads to pull on there, but I should quit taking your time here. But yeah, I really want to thank you for, taking a chunk out of your evening to talk to me. This has been so cool, especially like I say, given my like fanboy history, right? You're my hometown hero, so it's fun to get to really dive into both like your situation now as you're like wrestling with all these things and obviously cover some of the history as well. Um, yeah, man, I hope, I don't know, some years down the line we get to check back in and see
Yeah,
how everything turned out.
yeah. It's funny because Fear Dragon is in the chat back in, what was it, 2017 or 18? Oh,
Hmm.
yeah, it might have been BlizzCon 2017 or
2017 sounds right, I think.
yeah, that was the end of the year, and when he quote unquote did my retirement interview,
Uh-huh.
and he has yet to upload it. He's been editing it for 4 years now, and yeah, I mean, it turns out didn't fully retire, huh? So you never know how this thing work out. It's pretty interesting.
We need it, Fear Dragon. We need that video.
It was pretty long. It was a good one. I talked about all kinds of things. I don't remember what I said, but yeah, it's funny. So yeah, maybe 3 years from now we'll do this again. Maybe I'm the same. Maybe a completely different story. Who knows?
Fear Dragon, if you need any clips for the future version of it, you let me know. We can collab on that.
That would be funny. Like you just take my interview from like random interview from 2014, and then a random interview from, and you just put it all together, and just all conflicting things I'm saying. It's just this guy's just a fucking liar.
Oh man. Well, on that note, thank you again, Feely. I really appreciate it. I'm gonna hide you from the people so we could say a proper goodbye. But thank you very much, man.
Thank you for inviting us. It was a pleasure.
Oh, we should promote you. What am I doing?
Oh, sure.
Where can people find you? Obviously, twitch.tv/PiLiPiLi96, right?
96. Same with Twitter. Same with YouTube. I think I'm extremely consistent. I have
Look at
PiLiPiLi
you.
96
Regular
pretty much
freaking
everywhere.
professional.
YouTube might be something else, but with enough clicks, everyone can find me everywhere.
Makes